Charles Perry Construction was founded in 1968 by Chuck Perry. The type of work that we do is commercial, institutional, education, both K-12 and higher education, university and state college work.
We also started another company called PPI Construction Management, which was construction management.
What they brought to the table, from my perspective, was a product that they were proud of, we were proud to receive, and they brought honesty, integrity to the table and let us know what to expect. And when they said this is what to expect, that's what we got.
In 1982, I met Mr. Perry, and he put me with the right people, and he sent me to these different job sites so I could learn the proper way to build good quality buildings and lasting structures.
I think that the company we're dealing with today is just an offshoot of Chuck, and they enjoy the benefits of having been trained by a man of character.
I think back of him and how he loved this community, and I know we've all heard the story how he hitchhiked up here from the other side of the tracks in Winter Park and came to school here and wore his little beanie cap to U of F, and as you all know, he graduated with honors.
Chuck was gracious to everyone. Didn't matter what position or where they came from, Chuck was Chuck, and he was just wonderful. He had an incredible work ethic. Personally, I knew if it was a CPPI job at the university, I could pick up the phone and call Chuck if I had an issue.
He was the only contractor I had that paid us the 10th of the month. He didn't care whether he was paid, well, he cared, but we got paid whether he got paid or not. And very few people paid you by the 10th, but Chuck did. And people would get better prices for Chuck, give him as subs better prices because they knew they didn't have to wait for their money.
Chuck had the reputation, he had the character and the confidence that was really inspirational to me. And I always felt like it was my job to sustain that, to maintain that, to continue to achieve the great things that Chuck had done throughout his career.
When Mr. Perry came from Winter Park and decided to stay in Gainesville and go to build a construction, this became his home. And with that, he made this his home, and as you can see driving through the community, his name and his legacy are on not only the buildings but the people that live in the town.
Chuck was a mentor that didn't have to say a whole lot to you, but you kind of understood exactly what you needed to do. He was always kind of subtle and silent and always helped you out in anything you needed to pursue. He'd always also stick his hands in. He would help you out with something, show you the way, jump back into the fold, if you will, and maybe do an estimate or help on something specific.
Chuck Perry was an exceptional individual and someone that anybody should pattern after. He's just a good man, that's all.
In 2011, we merged both companies that encompassed all three: design, build, construction, management, and general contracting.
From that, it brings two companies together under one roof and one umbrella, and it allows them to be able to pool all the resources from within the workforce to deliver these buildings in a timely manner and on budget.
So it made sense that we merged the two companies into one, and that's when we became Charles Perry Partners Incorporated. That was after Chuck had passed away, so it was a tribute to him to keep his name in there as Charles Perry Partners Incorporated.
When an organization grows and you have a transition in that organization from a key leader like Charles Perry, you need to carry on that legacy somehow. And this company didn't necessarily have the strong mission statements. It developed them as time goes, and we've refined it to reflect his legacy, to build long-standing relationships and structures.
They have the character that Chuck represented and instilled in his people. He didn't want bid shoppers working for him. He didn't want people that cheated on the specs working for him. He wanted the customer to get what they paid for, and he wanted the subs to be a part of it.
From what I could tell at UF on my projects, it's been a seamless transition from Chuck to Breck, and then with the addition of John and Brian, the projects are getting done, the projects are on time and on schedule. The only difference that I see is they don't jitterbug.
I think that every day that John, Breck, and Brian think about Mr. Perry, as we all do that knew him, and try to live and run this company like he would have.
When you're dealing with CPPI, you're dealing with honesty, integrity, quality, and you're going to get what you pay for. I mean, you're going to get exactly what's on that document and what you expect. And if you don't get it, then you should have told them along the way, because they'll make sure you get it.
I was never afraid that CPPI would not meet the budget or the schedule. I was always happy to have CPPI on the job because I knew they would figure out a way to get it done. And that all came from Chuck, sitting around with the team after he looked at the building.
And he also developed relationships with the suppliers and the subs, particularly with subcontractors, because he knew that you had to have a team. You were dependent on each other. A good general contractor recognizes that he has to have a good relationship with the people he's going to work.
So with any company, if you're in business for a long period of time, you've got to grow. If it's about the people, you got to give growth to the people. In '95, we opened our first outside of Gainesville office in Orlando, and it's been very successful over the years.
Since then, we have expanded into other regions in Florida and Georgia. We have offices in Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, and also in Savannah.
You've got to give opportunities to the employees that you have working for you, and you know the folks to be able to strive for their best.
Relationships comes first for a reason, because that was the heart and soul of how we delivered our projects, how we serviced the clients, how we dealt with each other within the business. And you know, that relationship being strong continues to bring work and continues to drive us to do better for the people around us.
When you get a response like that, it's evidence of the commitment they have to the work they did at North Florida Regional for 17 years. You don't get that every day, and that's a wow factor.
We are now doing our 80th major project at the University of Florida as I speak. And there have been over 1,000 smaller projects performed over the last 25 years.
And these are things that you have families that drive by and can say to their children and their grandchildren, I built that.
It's a well-known family-oriented company, so when there's family involved, it's always about giving back, and Gainesville is part of that family.
Within each one of those communities, we make sure that those folks are doing the same thing that we've done here, reaching out into community, participating, involvement, and stewardship, giving back.
Breck, John, and Brian are now taking Chuck's legacy. They're out there as leaders and as contributors. The leadership also encourages all of the CPPI family to do the same. So you will see CPPI spread out across the community.
It's my hope that after I'm done and gone, that we will be remembered for treating others as we expect to be treated or would like to be treated. We have a great deal of compassion and respect for our employees, our subcontractors, our vendors, and also our clients. It's what Chuck started out with, it's what we've carried on under our regime, and it's what I hope will happen for many, many more years.
He'd want to see our continual growth in our family and our family atmosphere and our love for one another. He'd want you to continue to do well in the work that he loved. And he would continue to be so proud, so very proud of each of you.
I know we'll continue to grow because we have great people working for us and surrounded by great people. So the future looks very, very, very wide open.